Okay, I don't know if we've actually started, but Bill is going through technical difficulties. So I'm Charlie O'Connor with PHLY Flyers. Um, there's not really much I can do at this point. We are currently experiencing technical difficulties. You, I believe, see William Matz, and now he's here. William.
Yeah, it was as soon as we went live, all of a sudden everything froze. But hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Mortgage CS. Check out mortgagecs.com/PHLY to start your home buying process today. Company NMLS ID number 1464766. My name is Bill Matz. I am trapped in bunk bed jail. Joining me today is Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor. Charlie has been spending the first couple of days back from Vegas in beautiful Voorhees, New Jersey, at Flyers development camp, and we're going to get into that today. Because what the hell else are we doing? It's not as if the Flyers are major players here in the free agent market or anything. But how you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing okay. It's been a busy week. I would like to point out that I now know how it feels a little bit. I know how it feels when I would come on the show from the Wells Fargo Center during the season and immediately freeze. So I get where you're coming from with that frustration, because when we went on and you were just frozen and I just had to basically stall for time, I get it. I understand now how that felt.
All right, I think, is it Charlie gone now, or have I lost connection?
Bill, you are good.
Oh, I'm good. All right, you froze for a second. I wasn't sure what was going on. So we have development camp. Yesterday was kind of the, as Kelly joked, I bet you they went around the room and everyone said a fun fact about themselves, and not a whole lot went on the ice. There were no battle drills or anything, but today was... it was a lot more of what you come to expect from a normal day of training camp or whatever. Is that fair to say, Chuck?
Yes. Yeah. Today, so the way the development camp tends to go is you have day one is very light. It's more just a warm-up day in terms of on-ice stuff. Days 2 and 3 are the real heavy work days. I think that's where you can gain the most actual knowledge about the players' skills, because the workouts, the drills are more intense, and also they're just more competitive. They're actually against each other rather than just like skating in a line and weaving in and out of objects and whatnot. And then day 4 is the day when we deal with the scrimmage. So that will be Saturday. We will have a scrimmage at around, I believe, 6 p.m. at the Flyers Training Center on Saturday night. So check that out. But yeah, today was definitely a day where you could actually learn something about the players, much better than yesterday, to be sure.
All right, so I guess that's what I want to get into to start today's show, is if we learned anything about some guys, and why not start with the headliner, the 2024 first-round pick, the guy maligned at first, and then as we kind of got over, all right, they passed on Booyam, who just seemed as if he was going to be a consensus higher pick, but he did drop to, basically 13. Then they passed on Hellenius, someone we just saw in all the mocks goes well before Jett Luchanko, but they end up with Luchanko. And as we see, we read more about him. It's like, all right, we knew about the speed. We knew that as soon as we read his name. That's something that we joked about a few weeks ago. But as we're reading more, like his testing at the combine, how he just seems, maybe he's an athletic freak in nature, and the upside might be tremendous with him, given his age and what he was able to do at the combine. What can you tell us you learned about Jett today down at the training facility, Chuck?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that number one, and I've learned this by doing these development camps quite a few times, is a lot of times for the young guys, the guys, this is their first development camp, the first day especially, it's a little bit of a feeling out process. You can tell that they're not ready to just jump right into the deep end. They need to get some adjusting. And I think that was the case with Luchanko today. One thing I will say is that from the jump, like, you can tell he's a great skater. I mean, that is abundantly clear from the second you see him, which makes sense. Like, that's just a natural ability, and it's the most noticeable ability that anyone who plays a sport on ice is going to show. He flies out there. I mean, he's got fantastic acceleration, and when they were doing skating drills throughout the day, like the push that he is able to get off of his lateral strides, like when he's trying to, gain separation, when he's getting challenged, when somebody's trying to challenge him physically, if he's trying to get around someone, like there is serious power behind those strides. More power than I saw out of anyone on the ice today. And it's abundantly clear this is a really, really good skater. Now, the rest of his game, I would say that he was, and this is something I do think he's going to have to work on. I think this is absolutely an issue I saw when I watched tape on him pre-draft. Not as much as today. So I think today was a bit of jitters, but he does need to get better at protecting the puck. When there were 2-on-1 rush drills, when there were 2-on-2 drills, like the puck was getting knocked off a stick a fair amount. He was not finishing a lot of those plays because he wasn't protecting the puck well enough. He wasn't, cradling the puck in a way or being deceptive enough so that the defenseman or the forward, whoever was covering him, didn't feel comfortable just trying to strip it from him. So that's something there. And there were a lot of reps, especially in the beginning, where he wasn't even getting to the net. He wasn't even getting a shot because the puck was getting knocked away from him. Where he really started to shine and where you started to say, okay, I see what they saw in this guy. They were doing these drills that were 2-on-1s and also just kind of 1-on-1s in a way where you drive the net with the puck with power and then try to beat the goalie in close. Luchanko is really good at that. He really shows off his soft hands when he's around the net, trying to finish on chances. That's how he scored most of his goals in juniors. It was very like dangle heavy, in the crease area, just outside the crease. I don't think he has a terrible shot, but he's not a sniper, and he doesn't use the shot as much as he should. But if you get him the puck around the crease, he can make goalies look stupid. And he did that quite a few times. And when you saw that, you're like, okay, combine that with the speed, and there's something here. And then at the very end of the main session, because the way they do it is they had a skills session, and then they have a mix session. The mix session is where you get the competition, between forwards and defensemen, between forwards and other forwards. Then you have the skills, which is a little bit more individualized. But at the end of the mix session, that's when you really started to see because one of the things that scouts talk about, you saw it when you watched them, but like scouts love his competitiveness. They love the fact that, this is a guy who will play physical, who will back check hard, who will battle along the boards. And I think he started to finally build up enough confidence by the end that you were really starting to see that competitiveness. You're starting to see why, like, even if he doesn't make it as a top 6 center, and I'm sure that's what the Flyers think he can be, but even if he doesn't, he's going to be a hell of a bottom 6 fast center because he has that competitive drive and he has that willingness to engage that keeps his floor higher than like top 6 or bust, like a Massimo Rizzo, let's say.
That's great. It's nice to know that he has that mix of those skills. Just in terms of what you said to begin with shielding the puck, protecting the puck, do you think that's something that can just come with reps? Like as he learns how defenders are going to attack him, he can figure out, like, using either his speed or his awesome athleticism. Like, I remember reading about the grip strength, that it was absolutely incredible. And to me, that's like, all right, one hand on the stick shielding, use other arm to ward off a defender. Like, do you think he has the tools to kind of figure out that part of his game? Because if he's going to carry the puck a lot, and with his speed, you hope he would, that's something you kind of want.
Yeah, I think it can be. There's a reason why scouts talk a lot about the idea of pace, that players have to play with pace. And that is speed. That's carrying the puck fast. That's keeping your legs moving so that back checkers can't catch up to you. But what it also is it's making decisions quick. And that's something you always hear when people move up a level, when they go to college from juniors, when they go to the AHL from college, when they go to the NHL from the AHL. It's just that you have to make all of your decisions faster because everyone is a little bit faster. They attack you a little bit more aggressively. They're a little bit bigger, so their reaches, take away your time and space just a little bit more. And my hope is that even as camp progresses, he's going to turn the puck over less because he gets used to the fact that, these guys engage, they close gaps quicker than players do in juniors. And then he might have to make the same adjustment when he gets to the AHL, or the same adjustment when he gets to the NHL if he just skips the AHL entirely. Like, this could be something where he just has to adapt to the pace of the defense that he's facing and just learn how to make decisions with the puck quicker, whether that's a pass, whether that's moving the puck away from an oncoming stick check just a little bit quicker because you don't quite have the same time that you have in juniors. We'll see if he can do it. It's not a guarantee. You know, sometimes players can't learn how to deal with the increased pace because they don't have the hockey processing ability. They don't have the IQ. And that is something that some scouts were worried about Luchanko, that, you know, he's got all these tools. He's this physical freak in terms of, you know, how he did at the combine and everything. But does he have the hockey IQ to take full advantage? That's one of the questions. One of the reasons why he wasn't a slam dunk top 10 pick. But I do think it's possible for you to learn how to play and think with more pace as long as you do it a lot. You get a lot of reps. I do think so. And it looks like Bill's frozen again. So I guess I will just keep going. Apologies for our technical issues. Bill is down the shore, I believe, at an Airbnb, and the connection is not great, apparently. So I'm going to go into what I would say is probably my biggest standout of the day. And that was one Oliver Bonk. And Bonk, you know, he had a really interesting interview yesterday with the media. He really opened up. He's not usually the most loquacious person in the world to talk to, but he was really good yesterday when we spoke with him after the initial segment of development camp. And what he said was, I might not be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest. I might not be the best at anything, but I'm good at everything. And that was something that was abundantly clear today. It was that, you know, this is someone who, he isn't the fastest skater, but he's a good skater. He doesn't have the best shot, but he can beat goalies. He isn't the most dynamic on the breakout, but he can pass the puck accurately and get the puck up ice quick. He was just good at everything. And the one thing that he was, I will say, legitimately great at, and this is interesting, he was really, really good defensively. And he hasn't, while he's generally viewed to be a two-way defenseman, in that that's what he projects to be, he wasn't perfect defensively in London last year. He hasn't been perfect defensively. He's still kind of, I think, learning the finer points of, you know, closing gaps quick and how to use his stick exactly the way he should to be able to be a shutdown level guy at the NHL level, or at least a good defensive defenseman at the NHL level. Well, today he was basically perfect in terms of defense. When he was defending 2-on-1s, when he was defending 2-on-2s, he was just breaking up plays constantly. And it was really impressive to see, because at last year's camp and whatnot, it wasn't as apparent that he was going to potentially have the upside to be a really, really good defensive defenseman. Today, I have some really good videos, and keep an eye out. I will be doing my my end of camp wrap up monster article that I do every year. This will be my first one for PHLY, but I've done enough for The Athletic that if you followed me all that time, you'll know what to expect. A lot of observations, a lot of quotes, a lot of videos. But when I do that, I will have multiple videos of what Oliver Bonk did today, basically just kind of being like the Gandalf, you shall not pass type of player against him, because people were trying to get around him. They were trying to pass the puck through him, and Bonk was just right there. He was right there, and he was always making the right read. His gap was tight. His stick was active. He did everything you want to see a guy whose defensive play projects well to the NHL level. He did everything you're supposed to do on that front. I was really hoping Bill would be back by now. Does not look like he is. I guess I'll just keep going with more observations of players at development camp. Alex Bump. He looked real good, honestly. Alex Bump is a fifth-round pick. He's a college guy, but he shines at these. This isn't the first development camp I've seen him at, and he always stands out at these dev camps. He shined again today, and it's just because for a later round pick, for a guy who not a lot of people talk about, he's got serious skill. Like, this guy, he's not Luchanko level fast, but he's a good skater. You can see he's got powerful strides. He's got good technique. He has a separation gear, at least at these camps. I don't know if he quite has it in college or the pros, but here he's a pretty good skater. And then skill-wise, he can beat goalies clean. He can dangle. he's got moves. And I think Bump is one of those guys that maybe I don't even talk about enough. Like, we didn't rank him in our top 20, myself and Alex Appleyard. We did not rank him in our top 20 back in February, I believe is when we did our last PHLY top 20 prospects list. We probably should have. And I remember when we did the list, I'll say this. There was a person in the Flyers organization that reached out after the list was done and essentially said, surprise Bump isn't on there. We really like him. And you can see why. The skill is there. He's most likely going to be a winger at the next level, but he's the kind of guy where, maybe you lucked into a middle six caliber player. Not saying he's going to be a star. I think they really have, maybe 3 guys in this pipeline with legitimate blue chip potential. Obviously, Mitchkov, who still counts as a prospect. You have Oliver Bonk, who, if he hits a ceiling, maybe could be a first pair defenseman. And now you have Luchanko, who potentially could be a top 6 center. So I don't think that Alex Bump, even in an ideal world, is going to be a top liner. Like, let's take a chill pill on that front. However, and this is important, it's important to get good middle six wingers. And if those middle 6 wingers are being gotten in the 5th round, pretty darn good. Not sure if we have any updates on Bill. I don't know how much longer I can do this. I guess I'll just keep rolling, but Bill ain't here yet. So I really appreciate everybody for hanging in. I guess I'm just going to turn this into prospect development camp observation day. But I also don't have any ad reads. So I guess we're not doing ad reads because I don't have any of this prepared. That's Bill. All right, let's see. Who else can I talk about? Just a little update on Massimo Rizzo, because I did tweet this out, but if you don't follow me on Twitter, Rizzo's he's a guy who I think has a sizable fan base in the Flyers fandom. He was the player they got in the trade. Well, really it was a buyout, but it was basically a trade. I meant to say buyout. In the Tony DeAngelo buyout. Functionally a trade. The Flyers get Massimo Rizzo for the rights to David Kasha, who will probably never again play in the NHL ever again. So they get Massimo Rizzo, top scorer for the University of Denver, and signed this year. Now he's turning pro. Rizzo, however, and Nick Schultz, who we spoke with today, did mention this. He ended the season with a high ankle sprain, kept him out for a significant period of time at the end of the season with the University of Denver. He did come back for the national championship game, was very severely hampered, though, in that game. He's still recovering from his high ankle sprain. He is on the ice. He is here. We actually spoke with him. But he's not going to be participating in the bulk of camp. So he's participating in the individual sessions. So the skill sessions, the ones I talked about, like where it's just the forward skating around. He is doing those. However, what he's not doing is he's not doing the mixed sessions, which are the more competitive sessions, nor is he going to be in the scrimmage on Saturday. So that is the story with Massimo Rizzo. It's a bummer. I really would have liked to have seen him deal with competitive atmosphere at this camp, but apparently they're playing it safe with him. It's not that he's banged up, but he is. They are keeping him out of the competitive aspects of camp. Bill, you're back.
Yeah. I think I have some sort of solution to this issue, at least for now. I'm sorry, fam. It's are you talking about Massimo Rizzo, Charlie?
Yeah, I got through another 3 players because I just had to kill time.
That's what makes you the best in the business, bud. So Rizzo, he's some sort of banged up. I saw today, like he's doing the forwards only drills, but maybe the battle stuff. They're just like, I think he has a high ankle sprain, they said.
Yeah. He had the high ankle sprain at the end of his college season.
Okay.
He came back for the national championship game, but was not 100%. Obviously, the kid just wanted to be in the national championship game. Understandable. He's basically back. He's just getting back on the ice now, though, full time. So I think they just don't want to push it with him.
Well, that's smart. As much as we want to see these guys, and Rizzo is a player who I think we all have a little bit of interest in, because he seems like Carolina was just like, yeah, we're good. Like, oh, we'll give him to you for Tony DeAngelo because you're just getting rid of this guy. And then even after there wasn't a trade, it was still like, yeah, here, have him. Yeah, that's fine. And then you see the numbers he put up in college, and there might be something there. So I think a lot of people are interested in Massimo Rizzo. Plus, you know, he's got the Italian name. We all love that here in South Philly, even those of us who aren't the least bit Italian. So you got to bonk and bump as well. I saw somebody in the comments earlier say I was sitting on a bonk bed, and I thought that was very, very funny.
That's good.
That's good stuff. But one of the players we talked a little bit about yesterday, and then a lot of people in the on Twitter forwarded me pictures of an interview Denver Barkey did, and it was like, no, he still looks 12. Denver Barkey put up the huge numbers, I think 102 points in the OHL regular season for London last year, and really good numbers in the playoffs as well. We know about he's undersized, he's underdeveloped, but there's something there considering his production. What did you see from Denver Barkey today, and did you get a chance to talk to him?
We did talk to Denver Barkey. He does still look like a child. So that has not changed much. He does look a little bit more built. So it doesn't seem like he's done nothing. And he said like his main focus now is putting on weight. He's got to get stronger. He knows he's small. He knows that if he's going to hold up at the NHL level, he is going to have to, maybe not be like quite Marty St. Louis level jacked, but like he has to be ripped to be able to hold up at a 5'9" frame. He does. So he's working on it. He does look a little bit stronger, but yeah, he still has a baby face. He's still tiny. I thought he had an okay day. I don't think he was one of the standouts. He made some plays. He had one nice play where he got stuffed for a chance and then battled to get the puck back and did a wraparound to beat the goalie to the far post. That was a very classic, Denver Barkey, dogs got that Barkey in them kind of play that we hear so much about. I wouldn't say he necessarily showcased high skill, but the effort was there. He had some good shots. He made some plays. He had a solid day.
The more I watch and hear about Denver Barkey, do you think a Scott Lawton with a little bit more offensive upside is a fair, if not comparison, than ceiling?
I don't know. I don't know if that's giving him enough credit, just because like we know what Lawton is. But look, if they can get a 35, 40 point energy middle to bottom sixer out of a third round pick in Denver Barkey, I'm sure they'll be happy. I think he might have a little bit more offensive upside to him. Okay. To be honest with you, I think the skill's there. He's not going to dangle through people. He doesn't have that kind of game-breaking talent. But I do think there's more skill there than his ceiling, just being another Scott Lawton. I think there's more there.
That's great to hear. No, that's awesome to hear about. And right now, I think is a great time to tell you about our friends over at TrueMark Financial. One of the things everyone at TrueMark wants you to know is that while you're probably locked in, you've been with your bank a while, there's a really good chance you've been banking with them for years. It is much easier than you think to switch from a bank to a credit union. And the reason you want to do this is because the benefits are, to me, almost a no-brainer. One of the things that really sets TrueMark and credit unions apart from the big banks is the ownership structure. Banks are typically for-profit institutions owned by shareholders, and they operate with the primary goal of generating profits for their shareholders. While credit unions are not-for-profit financial cooperatives owned by their members. And if you live or work in Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery, Philadelphia County, you're eligible to join. And member benefits include the great rates, the lower fees, and the personalized service, which includes financial advice. Advisors provide personalized financial planning and expertise. It's not just, well, this is what we do at this bank. This is what we're going to give you. They will sit down with you and talk you through things like goal setting and long-term financial security so that you have a grasp on what you're actually signing up for and what your financial goals actually are. TrueMark Financial is federally insured by the NCUA and is an equal opportunity lender. For more information, visit truemark.com/PHLY. That's TRUMARK.com/PHLY. And while we're here, let me tell you about Indeed. Indeed is driven by the search for better. And when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match. And you can match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors. And according to Indeed data, a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And listeners right now, listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/ALLCITY right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. We all know how difficult it is hiring. Like I've never been management, ownership sort of management, but I have worked for some small businesses, and finding quality candidates, it's real freaking difficult. So do yourself a favor, sign up at Indeed.com/AllCity and make sure you take advantage of our discount provided. All right, Charlie. You talked about Oliver Bonk. I'm sure you said some glowing things about him. What I heard this morning is he did a great job in rush defense. Yeah, he was one of the standouts of the day, was Oliver Bonk, and to be expected. A first-round pick last year. He's up against some guys who he might be a little bit older than, and coming out of the season he just had in London, this dude factors in majorly for the Flyers' future. Like, he's in the future plans very much as a former first-round pick. But I want to talk about some of the other defensemen. First and foremost, that's my guy, Chuck. We got to talk about Hunter McDonald.
I was wondering who you were referring to.
I have been sold on him because they love him so much. What did you see out of our giant boy today?
So he was okay. I would say that the one thing that does pop for him, and I believe it was Nick Schultz who spoke on him today. He is a good skater for his size. He is. The skating it's not high end. He's not going to be a burner. We're not talking about like a Salayev type where he is a really, really good skater, even if he was 6 foot, not being 6'7". But he can move. He has some jumps, some bursts. He's not super slow. I don't think he's ever going to be confused for a burner, but he's got some wheels, and that's good to see from a defensive defenseman. And that was something that Nick Schultz pointed out, is that, while he is a little bit of a throwback in terms of physicality and in terms of nastiness, he's not a throwback to the old defensive defensemen who just were pylons and stood there and hit people. He can move, and he can pass the puck, and he showed that today too. He's not a super creative passer, but he does have the ability to make a first pass while under forechecking pressure. At least he showed that today, which is a good sign. The negative with Hunter McDonald, and I think this is probably always going to be a negative with him, if he has the puck on the rush, or if he's got the puck moving up ice, he doesn't really know what to do with it. He's not going to be creating chances.
Oh, good.
If he's on a 2-on-1, and he's got the puck, best you're going to be hoping for is a shot right into the goalie's pads, I think. We're not talking about a guy who is especially creative with the puck. And that was abundantly clear today. It's really abundantly clear if you just look at his stats from his collegiate career. Guy doesn't score much. Now, he might score a little bit more in the NHL because if he's got a good first pass, gets the puck to the center makes a good pass up to the winger, boom, breakout, goal. He might pick up some secondary assists. But I'm not expecting Hunter McDonald, even if he makes it and is a good player, to be directly generating a ton of offense. But I'd say that from a first pass standpoint, from a skating standpoint, he looked fine. And these drills weren't especially physical. So a lot of his biggest strength as a player, or so we've been told, is his physicality, is his nastiness, is that he plays at that edge. The drills they did today were not necessarily made to show that off. So maybe on Friday, they will be a little bit more physical, and maybe Hunter McDonald will shine a little bit more because that'll play more to his strengths.
Just side note, when you said, like, okay, the best thing you can ask for is a shot right into the goalie's pads, I thought, well, you know what? That's a zone finish, offensive zone. I'll take it. You're the advanced stats guy. Remember when we used to talk a ton about zone starts and zone finishes? What happened to that? Have we just evolved past it? Like, oh yeah, shit doesn't actually matter. Like, I feel like we used to talk about it a lot, and now it doesn't come up as much. Just a thought I had.
It's an interesting question. I would say that it does matter. I think the reason why people in the analytics community, there's really two reasons why people in the analytics community don't talk about it as much. The first reason is that while it does have an impact on results, it's not quite as large of an impact as I think was originally assumed by people in the stats community. It can still be very impactful if like your usage is extremely skewed, but very few players these days have that kind of skewed usage. So it really doesn't have a huge impact. And second, the best models that we use, models like RAPM at Evolving Hockey, models like SG at hockeyviz.com, the best public models, they bake in an adjustment for zone starts and faceoffs and whatnot. So it's not something we really have to talk about as much because it's already baked into the model. So sometimes when I'm writing an article, I'll say like, one of the reasons why this model can be trusted is because it accounts for things like quality of competition and quality of teammates and zone starts. But I don't really bring up the zone starts that often anymore because it's kind of already implicit in the models we're using.
All right. So it wasn't crazy for us to be mad at Craig Berube for being like, well, Patrice Bergeron starts a lot of his shifts in the D zone. Like the reason I think Berube got fired was his answer on the Sean Couturier question is what I've always thought. But I was just thinking about that the other day, back when I was still writing. I remember being like, oh, we talked about this a lot. It was something that came up sometimes and just doesn't seem to anymore. But I think the stats, like you said, like they've evolved enough that it's not every individual stat. We have these models that like kind of all the all-encompassing sort of like wins above replacement sort of thing like that. Anyway, that was just my little tangent I wanted to go on because it was something I was thinking about the other day and wanted to bring up to you at some point. I want to get back to a couple forwards that we've talked about a bit recently, just in terms of, hey, they have no centers except for these two guys in the system, Cole Knuble and Owen McLaughlin. How have they been looking?
Yeah, I would say Owen McLaughlin has stood out a bit more. There's things you could tell he needs to work on. He's not the best. And this is actually something that Sean Couturier struggled a bit with in the first part of his career. Certainly not comparing Owen McDonald to Sean Couturier. It just came to mind when I was watching. Sean Couturier in the beginning of his NHL career was really bad, like actively bad at receiving passes cleanly. Like his first touch of the puck was very clunky. And as a result, it slowed him down moving up ice because he had to spend that extra quarter of a second settling the puck before he started moving. And it just slowed everything down. McLaughlin, I saw more than a few times today him struggling a little bit to handle pucks right off of a pass. And it just made everything appear slower. But I like his instincts. He has some offensive instincts. I like the fact that when you watch him in drills and you watch him support his defenseman, he just looks like a center. He seems to think like a center, and that's exciting to me. So McLaughlin is intriguing. There's some skills there. You watch him and you're just like, there's something there. I don't know if he's ever going to put it all together, but there's something there. And that's a good find in the 7th round, in my opinion. Plus, he's local. He grew up mostly in like Phoenixville around Valley Forge, I believe. So that'd be cool. Be cool to have a Flyers fan, Flyers player. That would be neat. As for Cole Knuble, look, he doesn't show, at least to my eyes, a ton of skill. But in drills where it was a little bit more defensive, where the idea was, forwards are trying to break up passes, they're trying to get physically engaged, I noticed him there. I noticed him being disruptive. And that fits. It fits because his ceiling in the NHL, if he makes it, is probably that of a 4C. What do 4Cs do? They play defensive hockey. They break things up. So, and K-Red says thought Knuble was a wing. You probably thought that because his dad was a wing. And look, Cole Knuble might end up getting pushed over to wing long term, but I think the idea picking him was that maybe he could be like a 4C or a bottom 6 center.
All right. Yeah, when you just thinking about this issue McLaughlin's having, it sounds like we need to get Gordon Bombay out there with the eggs to do the
eggs
drill. Yeah. That's what we need to be. That's probably how we should be spending our time. Spencer Gill, defenseman. What was he? A second round pick just this last weekend. And yeah, the Flyers traded up for Spencer Gill. Big guy, but as you mentioned yesterday, rail thin, very tall, but might need to put on a little bit of weight, a la Travis Sanheim. Look how that worked out for him. What are you seeing out of Spencer?
He looked fine. I wouldn't say he jumped out to me per se. One thing that I'll say about Gill though today is that I wouldn't quite say it impressed me, but he was a better skater than I thought he was going to be, I guess is the best way to put it. Because he certainly isn't a great skater by any means, but he didn't jump out at me as looking like a slow skater. He just looked fine. Like, okay, yeah, the acceleration, he probably could stand to increase his explosiveness a few notches to be sure, but he didn't look slow. He just looked okay, which is better than I went into camp anticipating that he would look like. I thought he was going to look slow and his mechanics were going to look bad. Like, he looks okay. I think there's something to work with there from the skating standpoint. If you work on the strength, he does more training and builds up those leg muscles, he could become again, not expecting him to ever be a dominant skater, a burner. He could be an average to slightly above average skater. And given his size, how big he is, if he fills out, that might be all he'll need to fully take advantage of his frame and his reach and all those inherent physical advantages that he already has.
All right. That's good to know that he can skate a bit better than you thought, because it does seem like they focus on these, especially in this draft maybe, but it's been a running theme. Like, oh, yeah, just needs to work on that skating a little bit. And honest, like, to play in the current NHL, you have to be at least, like, average is bad, like you have to be a pretty damn good skater to even be considered. Yeah, he's all right. Like in today's NHL, it's so much about the skating that if guys seem a little bit ahead of where we thought they were, that gives them so much more potential to even just play in the league. Because dog, it's tough to keep up out there. It is freaking, the game is faster than it has ever been. But I want to change gears for a minute. Only one of the three goalies at camp is an actual prospect. The other two are camp invitees. We know about Alexei Kolosov and that whole thing. We'll have more information on that when you do, probably. But Carson Bjarnason is one of the goalie prospects in this organization. I'm not asking you to break down if he's doing the reverse VH or whatever too much. Like that's not what we're doing here, and I don't expect you to know the ins and outs of goaltending, Charlie. But just like
I don't.
compared to the other two goalies who aren't even prospects, they're invitees. This is a draft pick from last year who I'm pretty sure they moved up to get. Is he considerably outshining the other two? Like, how would you grade him, I guess, after a day and a half or whatever it's been?
I try to avoid grading goalies, but I will say it seems like he's stopping more pucks generally. It's really hard for me to evaluate goalies at this camp. It always has been, like, even dating back to the days when everyone wanted to hear everything about Carter Hart. It's difficult because my focus is, generally speaking, more going to be on the guys doing the things rather than the guy trying to stop them from finishing the things. I'm focused on, skating, reach, burst, shot, vision, smarts, those kind of things. Whereas the goalie, I'm not really looking at his pre-shot positioning or his explosiveness, going side to side. It's just not what I'm focusing on when I'm watching the play. the only times goalies really jump out at you are either A, they give up a really weak goal, B, they make a spectacular save, which does happen on occasion. I don't remember any today that made me jump, but that happens. Sometimes a goalie, you're like, holy crap, that was a great save. Don't remember any of those from any of them. And then the third thing you notice is in the scrimmages. The scrimmages is really where you can pick up goalie quality. Like I remember Sam Harrison, for example, a few years ago when he was at development camp. I didn't really recognize that he was having a good camp until I watched 3-on-3 scrimmage, and every team with Sam Harrison kept winning because he was basically a wall out there. And you're like, holy shit, this guy might have something here. So the scrimmage to me is going to be when you'll get a better read on Bjarnason and how good of a camp he's really doing, or at least I will. Like if he has Jason Martinez, he could probably tell you 10 things about Carson Bjarnason because he's a goalie and he knows this shit. I don't, and I will never pretend to be a goalie expert. It's a world that I believe I will probably always be on the outside looking into. But I would say he looked okay.
It's like I always say anyway, Charlie. Goalies aren't real people. No, listen, I was like, does he look better than the other two? Because the other two were like probably never going to be pros, or at least not at any, not with this organization, with the Phantoms or the Flyers or even the Royals or something probably. And this guy, you got to believe, factors in somewhere considering the draft capital they spent to get him. And I always think back to like evaluating goalies, like when it was Felix Sandstrom and Carter Hart at these things. And it would be like, yo, Felix Sandstrom, man, he is making some highlight saves. Every shot just seems, I don't know, Carter Hart, he looks fine. Every shot's hitting him in the chest. And you're like, well, yeah, Hart's team won 7-4. Like, oh, yeah. And it's just, a lot of times when you're evaluating the goalie, especially as not a goalie expert, you're like, oh, the big save, it really stands out. So yeah, but he let in 3 5-hole goals on not lasers, and it would just be, it's just tough. It's tough to do. I want to talk about some of the invitees. Kudashov, the defenseman, is one of them. Have there been any like standouts, like maybe a Phil Myers or something like that you go, oh yeah, he might have something here? Any of the non-rostered or non-drafted guys kind of, oh, he might get a contract out of this?
So I generally hate this question, and to give you the background, it actually is a running joke in the press box, like in the media workroom during development camp and then also rookie camp, because one thing that I get sometimes is I get DMs from people, and I get it. Like it's not me like being angry at them, but like a lot of times I'll get DMs from like friends or family members of camp invitees, and they will ask me like, "How's he looking?" And I always have to say like, I'm not really focused on it. Like I'm trying to evaluate the players, and this is where the running joke comes from. I'm trying to evaluate the players who have contracts, who I know are part of the organization. Like there are so many guys on the ice at one time that I use when there's a rep going on with all camp invites. I use that as a time to like take a note down or check my phone to make sure a video turned out okay, or just catch a breath and try to look for, okay, and how many reps does Jett Luchanko come up? I got to be ready to take that next video, that kind of thing. So I usually don't notice the camp invites, and I feel bad that I don't, but I just don't. That said, and I will say this, camp invites rarely catch my attention. Jack Williams, who was Hunter McDonald's teammate at Northeastern, he looked good today. And he was a guy where there would be a lot of times where I would take a video of like he would be doing something cool and I'd take a video. And then I'd check the video again and I'd be like, oh, that was Jack Williams. Like that wasn't a prospect. That was this camp invite. And that happened on multiple occasions. Now, he's 22, so he's old for the camp. He's not that big. He's 5'11", 170. So I'm not exactly expecting this guy to like get a contract. But I will say that as someone who almost never notices camp invites, I noticed Jack Williams today. He had a good day.
Charlie, look at that. I ask you a question you have no interest in answering, and you give a phenomenal answer. It's like you're good at this or something. I think we've hit on a lot of the bigger name guys. Is there anyone who has really, and again, it's one day of drills, I fully
Yeah.
get that. But outside of the bigger name guys, the players we've mentioned, like has maybe a Carter Southern or the Ruhonen. Do we know how to pronounce Ruhonen or whatever his name yet? Like, has anyone's really stood out to you outside of the Jett Luchankos, Oliver Bonks, dudes that need to stand out because shit, if they don't,
Yeah, well, I'll go into a guy who has stood out to me so far. But before that, I do want to touch on Carter Southern because it's interesting what I heard today about Carter Southern from Nick Schultz, because Nick Schultz obviously is one of the development coaches. He was asked about Carter Southern by, I believe, Jackie from the Inquirer. And Nick Schultz, I wouldn't say he threw the gauntlet down, but he more or less said, like, yeah, Carter Southern's going to have a real good second year after his draft in juniors if he wants to earn a contract. So for you big Carter Southern fans out there, Nick Schultz did not make it seem like it is a guarantee that the Flyers are going to be signing Carter Southern after his second year post-draft in juniors. So Southern needs to have, it seems like at least, he needs to take a pretty big step this year for them to think he's worthy of a contract, which is interesting because I always viewed him as like, hey, he's a solid 5th-round pick. He's got size. He's a righty shot. He's a lock for a contract. He had a good year for Portland this year, at least by the numbers. Doesn't seem like that's as much of a certainty. I don't think the Flyers are fully sold on him as a pro-level prospect, at least not yet. But you asked me if there's anybody else who has stood out to me. I would say, and I don't think he stood out necessarily as much today, although he did make some plays, and he's just noticeable out there. Like, he just has a presence about him. Another 5th-round pick, the 5th-round pick from this year, Noah Powell. He was impressive. He's got size. The skating needs work, but you can tell there's something there with it. Like, once he gets going, he can move. He needs to work on that acceleration, that explosiveness. The footwork isn't the best, but he's got size. He's got good hands around the net. His shot jumps off of his stick. The release and the power is legitimate. He's a noticeable guy out there. And it's cool. One thing that's cool about him, and this is something that I believe it was Scott Wheeler who mentioned this in his post-draft article. Scott Wheeler basically said that Noah Powell is functionally deaf. That is true. He is not completely deaf. He can hear. He has like hearing aids and whatnot, as we hear a little bit, but he has very, very poor hearing. And he basically has to lean on lip reading to be able to fully communicate with his coaches. You can see him on the ice kind of staring down his coaches when they're talking to him because he's trying to match up what sounds he can hear while reading the lips. And also, like, when he's on the bench, he often has to like turn around to see what the coach is saying rather than just have them yelling in his ear because obvious reasons. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool thing for him. But I would say he popped over these first few days, to be sure.
That's great to I just chuckled because I thought it would be he's North American, I assume. I thought it would be I thought it would be really funny if he was like Matvei Michkov or something and he's like learning English through the coach yelling at him. And it's like, yeah, man, like the only words he knows are fuck. Like, we've effectively only taught this dude swear words through him lip reading from the coach who's an absolute freaking maniac. But no, it is a really cool story. We talked about it a bit yesterday. It's cool. He won't have to listen too much to John Tortorella because who would want to? And I just saw in our comments, we have a little bit of breaking news, and this is brought to you by Indeed. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. That's Indeed.com/AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Bobby Brink, he is signed, Charlie, 2 years at $1.5 million average annual value. Seems fair. I'm glad that they got this done. When they bought out Cam Atkinson, it seemed to signal, well, obviously that needed to happen, but also we need this kid to play every night. Like, he showed us some in the beginning of last season. He fell off, got demoted. last game of the season, we all know he, along with Morgan Frost, sat for the second half of the game. It's part of the development process. Okay, if you say so, Coach. You know better than I do, I guess. We need to teach these kids to play in these games by not letting them play in the games. Whatever. You know better than I do, Coach. What do you think about Bobby Brink, 2 years, 1.5?
Yeah, this is just a logical contract. I don't think he showed enough to make anyone, including the fan base, comfortable giving him a super long-term extension, paying him like $4 or $5 million a year for 7 years. I don't think we quite know what the Flyers have in Bobby Brink, but he certainly should be part of this in the at least short term while they're trying to figure out who's going to be part of this over the long term. I think he showed something last year, and it's a fair value short-term contract. If you look at Evolving Hockey has a great contract projections model where they look at all the comparable statistical players to a guy who's up for free agency, and they take a guess on what his contract is going to be. It's by using their model. Their projected contract for Bobby Brink was a 2-year contract with a $1.587 million cap hit. That is basically what this is. They got an $87,000 a year savings per the model. So good job, Danny. You saved $160,000. Good work. But no, this is just, I think it was an easy contract, relatively speaking, because he wasn't a candidate for a long-term deal. They got him on a 2-year contract with him getting about what he's worth. So now the only guy left as a restricted free agent who is notable is Yegor Zamula. He's it. So, and then after that, then Danny is theoretically done unless he wants to make a trade, which I do believe they are still looking into.
Charlie, I've been looking for Danny to win one of these negotiations, and that $87K a year, that's something. That's something. I'm chalking it up. I'm chalking it up as a victory. Charlie, before we get to today's super chats, I want to tell you about my Shady Rays. You got to get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. And they have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. Honestly, when my internet crapped out, I probably should have grabbed my Shady Rays so I could put them on for this read, but I was doing other things. But I had them on at the beach just earlier today. Had a friend meet me down there. He's looking for some new sunglasses. He goes, "Oh, dude, I like those. Where are those?" And he mentions a couple brands. I'm like, "No, actually, Shady Rays, my friend." And it's pretty great if you're in the market for some sunglasses right now, because exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 35% off polarized shades. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. And while I have you listening to me, let me tell you about the big event coming up on Saturday, July 13th. It is the inaugural, and I think we have it spelled right this time, the inaugural PHLY Liberty Open at Valley Brook Country Club in Blackwood, New Jersey. It's Saturday, July 13th. It's a scramble format. You can sign up as a single, a foursome, or you can even sponsor a hole of this tournament. It's 18 holes with a cart. Tournament gifts and tea prizes, taste of Philly dinner, and post-round ceremony at the pavilion. Unlimited draft beer for 2 hours post-round. Contests and team prizes on the course. We'll be out there. It's going to be a great time. Charlie's going to be playing. Starts at 2 o'clock on July 13th. Make sure you head over to allphly.com. Click the events tab. Check out the calendar and figure it out, man, because it's going to be a great time. Make sure you are there Saturday, July 13th at the Valley Brook Country Club for this event. And the Mishkov Mania shirt, they're selling like hotcakes. Make sure you get to PHLYlocker.com right now while supplies last. They're not going to last forever. People, they've caught the Mishkov Mania. It's running wild. People want this shirt. You're going to want yours while you can get it. PHLYlocker.com. All right, Chuck, we have some super chats I want to get to before we wrap up today. So, Brenna, if you
Okay.
would be so kind, hit us with the super chats. First one from Dylan Phillips, PHLY and SIC this weekend. PHLY meetup at the OD. Yeah, I'm in Sea Isle. I'm around. I'm actually, I gotta go back up to the real world for a little bit for Ava's Quizzo at PJ Wellahan's. But other than that, I'm down here till Saturday. People have recognized me. Charlie, you got a lot of fans down here. Like, oh, Bill,
Do I
love you, and I freaking love Charlie, man.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks, bro. I'm talking to you though. Yeah,
I'm cool though. I'm cool too.
But yeah, we got a lot of fans down here in Sea Isle. I've run into quite a few of them. Thank you so much, because I have a running contest with my wife to see who gets recognized more. And like, the bigger platform, famous dad, like, I'm at a disadvantage here. But when they come up to me and be like, oh, I love your shit, I'm like, oh, yeah. So make sure you do that. I am not a standoffish person. I want the attention very much. All right.
I wish I was in Sea Isle, but unfortunately, there's development camp. I'll have my time down the shore, I'm sure.
Charlie will have his time. The next one from Adam S. I thought Noah Powell was pretty noticeable today when I was there. Guy works really hard. Yeah. Also, Sam Moran is huge. LOL. I mean, Sam Moran, what was it, 2012? Oh, my God. Was it that long? 2013?
2012.
2012? Yeah, like
20, yeah, maybe it was 2013.
I think it was 13. And either way, it was over 10 years ago.
Yeah, because I think 2012 might have been the Lawton draft.
That's when Steph came up with the quote from a Flyers scout who said, what we look for is a defenseman who can shit standing up at the back of a pickup truck. That was the quote. That's what they're looking for. And yes, I mean, yeah, absolutely. The guy is a monster, and they've always been looking for that, really, since then. The next, I think we have one more super chat from the name Robagol. Premature predictions, please, of the players in development camp. Who will reach NHL first and when?
Ooh, interesting question.
Do you think
I'm going to go with our favorite prospect, Hunter McDonald.
They love him so much. Like,
well, the thing is that I think he has a good chance of at least getting in a game this season.
Okay.
And while he's like Oliver Bonk is going back to juniors, like that's happening. Yeah. Whereas it would not blow me away if Hunter McDonald, maybe he doesn't make the team out of camp, but it seems like they are setting up for Hunter McDonald to at least get a taste of the NHL this season. So I'm going to go with Hunter McDonald.
I was going to say Oliver Bonk, but yeah, like Hunter McDonald's already a pro. He's in Allentown. They love him to death. Like, I could very much see him at least getting the, last couple of games of the season, a game, whatever it is. So yeah, and just in terms of getting here, having NHL stats and ice time on Hockey Reference, I think Hunter McDonald's probably the safest bet. That makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anybody else who I even think has a chance to beat him. I mean, I guess if he just doesn't make it at all, then it's probably Bonk, because Bonk is, I would say, it's him and Luchanko are the two best prospects at this camp, and Luchanko was drafted a year after Bonk. So you would think that Bonk probably has the leg up on getting to the NHL sooner. But yeah, I think the slam dunk answer is Hunter McDonald. Unless Hunter McDonald just severely disappoints them, and I don't know if it's possible at this point for him to disappoint them as much as they love him. Well, I think he's in the NHL. I think he at least gets a game this season.
I'll tell you, it is probably easiest for your favorite child to disappoint you. Like, if it's someone you had no expectations for, it's like, yeah, whatever. But they love him so much. But no, I think the safe bet is probably Hunter McDonald. All right, Charlie, before we get out of here, is there anything else you wanted to touch on today? Thank you so much for carrying the show while I was figuring out my connection. Very much appreciated that you're able to do that. But I think we have a fix so that Friday's show will go on without a hitch. We'll be able to do that. Obviously, we're off for the 4th tomorrow. I hope everyone has an awesome 4th of July. Be careful with them fireworks. Light them on the ground. Do not light them in your hand. Very, very important not to do that. I'm all for playing with explosives. It's a lot of fun. Love it. But be smart. Especially you've had a couple of beers. It's 4th of July. Be smart. All right, that's all I'm saying. Charlie, anything before we wrap up?
No, just wish everybody happy 4th of July. Have a good day off. We will be back on Friday after the final full day of development camp, and then Saturday will be the scrimmage, and we'll break that down on Monday.
All right. That is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for hanging out. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Follow us right here on YouTube. Set those reminders so you never miss a live show. We'll be back on Friday at 4 p.m. for more development camp news and notes, maybe some more off-season stuff as well. Who's to say? It's going to be a fun F around Friday, no matter what. Also, follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers. Follow the podcast. Just search PHLY Flyers wherever you get those. That's it. My name is Bill Matz. That's Charlie O'Connor. Until Friday, happy 4th of July, fam.